We got some big-time quarterback rumors around your Minnesota Vikings that we'll dive into on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Seatman. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. But it was actually Jason Harmon who was at the Senior Bowl this week, and he tweeted out some nuggets that he's been hearing, and he said that the Vikings are keeping the names of Mac Jones and Anthony Richardson on their radar this offseason. So we'll talk about both quarterbacks, which quarterback I would prefer the Vikings to trade for here in just a second. But if you guys could, hit that subscribe button today. We'll keep you guys posted with everything you need to know this offseason. I always say the people who are watching the offseason content here on the channel are the true sickos. You guys are the true diehard football fans. I always appreciate you guys for tuning in. But if you guys haven't, hit that subscribe button today. We got the latest news, rumors, and reports out of Minnesota, free agency coverage, draft content, the latest trade buzz around the Minnesota Vikings. And, hey, we're less than 500 subscribers away from 70,000 here on the channel. So join our Vikings Now family. Hit that subscribe button today, and don't miss a thing around your Minnesota Vikings this offseason. All right, let's start off here with Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones, he's been heavily connected to the Minnesota Vikings. Even dating back to October and November this past season when J.J. McCarthy wasn't playing well. Mac Jones was playing some good football. A lot of people were connecting the Minnesota Vikings to the San Francisco 49ers backup quarterback, and with a lot of smoke around there, no, it does make some sense. Now, Mac Jones this past season, he started 8 games for San Francisco, played some good football. He manned the ship while Brock Purdy was out dealing with his injuries, had a solid completion percentage, threw for 2,100 yards in 8 games, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, had a solid QBR, and he's just a guy that can, man the ship. I do think these numbers are a little inflated just because of the Kyle Shanahan offense. It's always quarterback friendly, but he is, in my opinion, a high-end backup quarterback. Now, Mac Jones, very limited, and I think the stats kind of speak to that here. Big-time throws for Mac Jones this season. He only had 8, whereas turnover-worthy plays were 10. So he was starting to put the ball in harm's way, especially during the last couple of starts for the San Francisco 49ers, but he's a very accurate quarterback. Like, if you just want a vanilla, middle-of-the-pack guy who can run the offense at a decent level, won't give you anything extra, Mac Jones is your choice. Now, how much will it cost? We'll dive into that here in a second, but it was actually Albert Breer who connected the Vikings to Mac Jones as well, saying, everybody, Minnesota would be a fun idea. The Vikings will bring in competition for J.J. McCarthy, but may have to do it on a budget. They've explored the reclamation project path that worked so well for them with Sam Darnold in 2024. Tua Tagovailoa and Kyler Murray could be ideas, just not on their current contracts. Jones, who, like Darnold, would be coming from San Francisco, would make a good amount of sense. And I agree with that. Like, Mac Jones would make a good amount of sense in terms of a guy that the Vikings could bring in because, Mac Jones, you could potentially get him, for like a second or third round pick. So he would make a lot of sense, but also he would be a commitment to mediocrity for the Minnesota Vikings. Like, if you would bring in Mac Jones and make him the no-doubt starter for 17 games, I think that would be no doubt for the Minnesota Vikings where you're telling your fan base where it's like, hey, like, we don't really care about, making the end goal of winning Super Bowls or making NFC championships games. I think a little bit of it would be like, oh, the Vikings are trying to save their jobs. Like, guys like Kwesi, guys like Kevin O'Connell. Like, if you want to go the safe route and just get to the playoffs, potentially win one playoff game, I think that's Mac Jones, but you would also be limiting your ceiling. There would be no chance the Vikings make the NFC title game or make the Super Bowl with Mac Jones at quarterback. So that's why I'm a little concerned is that, it does make a lot of sense, but he's also a commitment to mediocrity for the Minnesota Vikings. I guarantee you the GM, Kwesi, I bet you he's pounding the table for Mac Jones over McCarthy. There's no doubt in my mind. If you had to ask Kwesi Adofo-Mensah behind closed doors, who do you want as a quarterback next season? He would say Mac Jones for the biggest reason because he thinks that Mac Jones is a safer option than J.J. McCarthy because J.J. McCarthy is polarizing. We don't know what J.J. we're going to get next season. Like, would he bank on J.J. McCarthy developing this offseason? Potentially, or would you rather just go the safe route of Mac Jones and be like, oh, he's going to get us over the hump, for the Vikings there. And, a potential trade idea for the Vikings landing Mac Jones here would just be the Vikings sending a second-round pick. Now, I think this is way too much. Sending a day 2 pick for Mac Jones, especially a second round with the Vikings, one, you are just against the cap space like none other. You have the second least amount of cap space in the NFL. Now, yes, the Vikings, a lot of flexibility. Like, they have a lot of guys they can restructure, a lot of guys they can potentially cut. But would you want to give up a second-round pick for Mac Jones? I would not. There are too many holes on this roster. And, again, a second-round pick for a guy where his max potential is 10 wins, maybe a playoff game. Like, best case scenario, like if we all close our eyes right now, we trade for Mac Jones in 2 months. The best case scenario with the Mac Jones version of the Minnesota Vikings is you win one playoff game. That's it. There's no chance you make the title game. There's no chance you make the Super Bowl. So giving up a second-round pick for that, I would be against it. Now, however, let's just say the Vikings do bring in Mac Jones. If J.J. McCarthy can't beat out Mac Jones after an offseason of development, I think we got problems with J.J. McCarthy. So that's where I could talk myself into Mac Jones being a potential solution for the Minnesota Vikings. Because let's just say they do go trade, maybe it's for a third-round pick. Like, you could talk me into a third-round pick for Mac Jones, and it's like, hey, we're going to have quarterback competition, J.J. versus Mac Jones. I could get behind that because I could make an argument. I think J.J. McCarthy, after an offseason of developing, would be better than Mac Jones heading into the next season. I know it's a crazy concept. I know NFL fans, like, we're such prisoners of the moment, and we think every young quarterback is a final copy of who they are. Crazy thought here. What if a 23-year-old kid in J.J. McCarthy gets a whole lot better this offseason? What if he gets to a point where he's better than Mac Jones? What if he gets to a point where he's better than Kirk Cousins week 1 of next season? Not trying to get too hot takey on the show. I think that's a possibility for J.J. McCarthy. This kid was a developmental project. He was obviously a guy who wasn't going to come out ready to go right away. He's got a live arm, got great mobility. He just needs to shore up the mechanics, and I think he will this offseason. So, yes, would Mac Jones make a great backup for a third-round pick? I would definitely take the chance on that, but still, I think J.J. McCarthy should be the starter even if you go trade for Mac Jones. But again, if he can't beat him out, then that's more on J.J. McCarthy. But you guys let me know. What say you on this one? Would you trade for Mac Jones? Give me a T for trade. Give me a P for pass. For a third-round pick, I would consider it. Second-round pick, absolutely not. Third-round pick, the Vikings get an extra third because of the Sam Darnold comp pick. You could talk me into it, but I would want it to be a quarterback battle, like a true quarterback battle. It's Mac Jones versus J.J. McCarthy. That's the only way I'm signing up for it. But you guys let me know your thoughts. Would you trade for Mac Jones? T for trade, P for pass. All right, let's talk about Kevin O'Connell's guy here. Anthony Richardson, polarizing choice. Obviously, has not been good so far in his NFL career. I think there's a chance the Vikes at least call the Indianapolis Colts about a potential Richardson trade. So we'll talk about that here in a second. Let me tell you about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Now, the big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than on Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season outright with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you put your first $5. You guys can also find your community on Prize Picks with the new social feeds feature. You can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow Prize Picks partners like us and tail or fade our picks with just one click. Prize Picks also has a new feature called Early Payouts. So if your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to potentially cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. And download the Prize Picks app today. We'll have this link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. Just plug in promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. It's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's talk about Anthony Richardson here. I'm assuming a lot of people will automatically just say, no chance. I want Anthony Richardson in this building. And for the biggest reason of that is that Anthony Richardson has looked horrible so far in his NFL career. I mean, his stats throughout his first 2 seasons in the NFL, injuries playing a huge factor in this. And it's pretty funny. Anthony Richardson and J.J. McCarthy are pretty similar. Different styles of quarterback, I think, but also 2 guys who just haven't had a lot of reps, dealt with a lot of injuries, and the flashes are there with both these guys. But they are pretty similar. And I just think Anthony Richardson, like, his upside is so high that I'd be willing to take a risk on him, and he wouldn't really cost anything against the books. Same with Mac Jones that we were talking about earlier. Mac Jones would be on the books for about $3 million, but same with Anthony Richardson on his first-round rookie contract. It only cost Minnesota $5.3 million in 2026. So, it wouldn't really be a high-risk move because you're not really taking on too much money, and also you wouldn't be giving up too much draft capital as well. I think he would go for a 2027 6th-round pick. If this is the deal, cool, sign me up. Now, what a J.J. McCarthy and Anthony Richardson quarterback room, that would be something for sure. I mean, you would be having 2 huge risks at the spot where it's like, I would kind of trust Kevin O'Connell to just make one of them work. Turn one of these two guys into a franchise quarterback instead of taking like the safe route of Mac Jones. We're considering you would have to give up a 3rd-round pick compared to a 6th-round pick for Anthony Richardson. Like, go out there, spin that wheel, take that risk, put your balls on the table, KOC, and be like, I can make Anthony Richardson work, or I can make JJ McCarthy work. I would kind of get more behind this idea than the Mac Jones idea, because also, let's just say they both don't work. Okay, you're probably drafting in the top 10 next season where you just restart and you go draft that future quarterback. Instead of where it's like Mac Jones, your floor is probably an 8-win team. Or if you roll out with Richardson and JJ McCarthy, hey, your ceiling could be 12, 13 wins if one of those two pop, but also your floor would be incredibly low. I'd rather have the Vikings do that instead of playing a safe route with Mac Jones. And Anthony Richardson right now as an NFL quarterback is flat out horrible. I mean, I'm not making this argument because of anything he has done in Indianapolis, but his upside is no doubt intriguing. Like, you can't look me in the face and say, like, oh, I wouldn't have some interest in Anthony Richardson. Because you go through on the tape, there are some flashes, man. Like, even at the NFL level, this guy's a freak athlete, one of the best athletes at the quarterback position in the National Football League. He has shown his arm is absolutely massive. Yes, he doesn't really see the field too well. He's not the most accurate quarterback. Injuries have been a problem. He hasn't been the best leader. There's a full list of cons I could go down for Anthony Richardson. But if you could somehow make it all work, which, hey, if you believe in Kevin O'Connell and you think he's like this quarterback whisperer, you should have some faith in a guy like Anthony Richardson developing with, his tutelage and under his system. And I'd rather have the Vikings just kind of keep throwing darts at the board of these high upside guys like Richardson, like J.J. McCarthy, instead of a guy like Mac Jones. Now, some other Vikings quarterback targets, if it's either of those, or if it's neither of these two guys, you got Kirk Cousins, who's probably going to be cut by the Atlanta Falcons. You got a Tyrod Taylor out there. He would just be a solid veteran to bring in to back up J.J. McCarthy. Malik Willis, probably, pretty unrealistic for the Vikes, as he would probably go for, $40 million guaranteed in free agency. Marcus Mariota, solid high-end backup, was working with Jaden Daniels over the last 2 seasons. Gardner Minshew, same thing could be said about him. High-end backup to mentor J.J. McCarthy. So out of all these names we're talking about here, I would probably, if you want to go the polarizing choice, it's Anthony Richardson, no doubt about it. But if you want to go like a safe veteran choice, I would have some interest in Tyrod. I would have some interest in Mariota. Kirk, I would have some interest in. I just don't know about all the noise that Kirk Cousins would bring into this organization. But you guys let me know. Between these two guys, Anthony Richardson and Mac Jones, keep in mind you're giving up a 6th-round pick for Mac Jones compared to probably a 2nd or a 3rd, or a 6th-round pick for Richardson compared to a 2nd or a 3rd for Mac Jones. Pick one you guys would want to trade for. For me, it's Anthony Richardson. I know Mac Jones is a way better quarterback, but I think right now, with where the Vikings are at, you got to be bold. You got to take a risk, and a guy like Richardson is a risk. A guy like Mac Jones just flat out isn't. That's a safe choice, and that's why I'm a little concerned. The Vikings understand if they miss the playoffs, they're probably getting fired. That's also why it makes me think that they will lean a guy like Mac Jones within the building over a guy like Anthony Richardson. But you guys let me know. Pick a QB you want the Vikes to trade for. Drop that quarterback's name down below. We'll get on out of here. As always, SKOL Vikes.